In this video, I'm going to share with you the top 5 security items you need to have in place for home security and defense in this day and age. Now, the reality is home defense and security is changing, right? It's ever changing along with so many dynamics in our world. And along with that, there are threats that are escalating alongside of it. And so it is time for you to take this seriously, right? You can do all this kind of prep, all these things that you put in place with your house, and then all of it can be lost in an instant if you've not thought through home security. These 5 tech gadgets are going to help you work smarter and not harder in the midst of all of that. And so we're going to talk about each of these 5 different categories, give you top brands in each one so that you have that peace of mind and security for your family. All of that is coming up. Okay, so we do live in an ever-changing world where there is more and more threats, more and more challenges coming at us, and the tech and all of the things that are being suggested and developed are happening at a breakneck pace as well. And so what you need in the midst of that is some wisdom, right? We need to know what are those must-have gadgets that give us some wisdom to cut through all the information and figure out what to do. We don't have like a lack of information right now. We have a lack of wisdom of how to navigate it, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. That's what we do on this channel. And so the way that we aggregate that wisdom, bring it to you so that we can cut through all that information is by finding trends from other preppers through threads online. So in this video, let's look at this prepper thread, the subreddit on home security system recommendations. And so this guy talks about what situation happened with him. Somebody tried to break into his house. He's starting to think about, what do we need to get? Floodlights, security systems, what do we need to have in place? What do you guys use? He's starting to ask that. And so a flood of responses poured in. We aggregated all of that and found trends in it that are going to be helpful for you. Here's what we found. So trends in home security system recommendations. There is the top thing that I think you need to know is that there's a layered security approach recommended. And I think that's what we're going to talk about in this video. These 5 gadgets layered together gives you home security. They also talked about popular security devices, some home modifications, some other things on the thread itself. But here's what I think you need to know, that when it comes to thinking about home security, that layered security approach is important. And so in this video, that's what we're going to dive into. And so we're going to start by talking about smart security camera systems. You're going to want to have some sort of security camera in place. That's just wisdom at this point with so many different dynamics happening in the world around us and access to the ability to see this on your mobile phone. Going to be really helpful. So let's talk about this. Pros and cons for a smart security camera system. Pros: high definition video you get from this versus a closed circuit, night vision, motion detection, remote access, and then of course cons. This is going to happen for all of these, but you're going to want to think in multi-layered and also on-grid and off-grid. So today we're talking about these gadgets you can have on-grid, and it's going to come with the cons of privacy concerns, potential hacking, and require stable internet. But that doesn't mean you should ignore it altogether. It just means that this is one layer of your security, right? And so when it comes to this, there are benefits that come with smart security camera systems, and it helps you to monitor and record the suspicious activity that could be happening in your vicinity, right? To help you to detect and deter intruders. And then also, if you haven't thought about this, it provides evidence. If something should happen, you've now got evidence on file that you can use and share, okay? And so it does come with potential risks. People talk about privacy invasion, the potential for hacking, internet dependency. But you could set up off-grid as an alternative, battery-powered security cameras or solar-powered cameras if you want to dig in on that level. But smart security cameras are important. Let's talk about some top options. And I'm going to give you 3 brands on each of these categories. Arlo comes in with a 4 out of 5 for privacy. They do a pretty good job of not invading your privacy and invading and recording your stuff. Hacking, it's a little bit lower. There's some hacking vulnerabilities and internet dependency. It does pretty well in giving you some options along those lines. So there's Arlo. Another one that's very popular is Ring. Ring comes in lower on privacy level. There is more that you have to give away and sign off on to be able to use their products. And there is a hacking vulnerability, but also does well for internet dependency. And then finally, Nest is another popular option, very similar in this regard to Ring for privacy and hacking and internet dependency. So up to you. I prefer Arlo of these 3 different options. I'll let you do your research, but that is a good place to start. Okay, so let's move on to the next category, which is the smart doorbell. So when it comes to smart doorbells, these have been around for a few years now. The pros and cons on smart doorbells, they have a built-in camera and an intercom, and so that's really helpful. And then there's also this remote communication where you can communicate with somebody even if you're not at home. You can talk to somebody as though you are at home. Very helpful, right? And gives you motion alerts even to your phone. Now, they can be expensive, and especially with an ongoing monthly rate, they do require Wi-Fi, and there is some privacy concerns once again. In this case, the benefits, though, it does allow you to remotely give verification to visitors that may come on your property. It enhances the front door security, both literally, and then also the look and feel. People are going to see this, and they're going to assume that you're somebody who's more security conscious just because you have it. Then it's going to record interactions like the other, the home security cameras. This records those interactions so that you have that evidence, right? And so there's, as far as just risks or concerns here, they can be expensive. They are Wi-Fi dependent, and then there's that privacy invasion. But as an off-grid solution, you could get a battery-operated doorbell and have local storage set up in a closed circuit if you wanted to, so that you are getting the benefits of it without some of those risks or concerns. As far as the top brands on this one, Ring is a pretty popular one. It is a bit expensive. It does have some level of Wi-Fi dependency, but you can get some autonomy there, and privacy is what it is with Ring, right? All right, Arlo, I think more and more I'm seeing Arlo as a top brand and one of my favorites. Again, it's a little bit cheaper, so it's not as expensive. Some Wi-Fi dependency, privacy is pretty similar, but I like Arlo. Finally, we'll talk about Eufy, I think is how you pronounce it. It's expensive, again, similar, less Wi-Fi dependency than some options, and your privacy is about the same. Okay, so when it comes to home security alarm systems, there are some specific pros and cons we should talk about. Comprehensive coverage. You're going to want to have coverage of your whole house, and so what you can get from a doorbell alarm system or even some cameras is limited. Putting in a whole full-on home security alarm system ensures that you know if there is an intruder that is engaging with your property, right? And it's gonna. There's also options that will alert the authorities and deter burglars, right? The cons are that you can get some false alarms. There are monthly fees involved, and then installation can be complex if you don't know what you're doing. In this case, though, the benefits are complete home coverage. It can be worth it just to have full coverage of your home, and also to have a system in place that will alert you and the authorities and do that on your behalf, expediting getting some support in an emergency situation. And especially if you are not home and you happen to miss those cameras sending you alerts, this is going to take care of that for you. So home security alarm system, it can be very much worth it. Now, there are off-grid options where you can get some standalone systems and battery backups. If you are concerned about privacy and want to be off-grid, there are options that you can take on in terms of that. So as far as top options here, Simple Safe is a key option here. Simple Safe, false alarms. There are a few false alarms, but less than other systems. That's why it gets a 4 out of 5. The costs here are lower fees than other options, and DIY setup, but it can be a bit tricky, and so that's why I give it a 3 out of 5. ADT is a popular and ongoing one that a lot of people like. There are a moderate false alarm rate here, more so than other options. It is expensive with monthly fees, and professional setup is required on this one, so giving a little bit lower rating, but it is a trusted brand of a long time. Okay, let's talk about Vivint, and here again, there can be some false alarms in this case, more so than others. Higher false alarm rate than some other systems, along with ADT. So that is why I like the Simple Safe option here. The costs are high fees, and then professional setup needs to happen, but it can be very smooth with Vivint. They handle it really well. So that can be a really key alternative potentially to Simple Safe if you prefer it. Let's talk about smart locks before we get into one of the last options that'll make you feel like James Bond in your home, so stay tuned for that one. But smart locks can be really helpful, and for multiple reasons. Let's talk about that. Pros, they're remote controlled and no need for physical keys. That can be very helpful, and they're going to log entry times. So it's not just about access, but they're actually going to help you to keep track of when and who is coming out of your home, along with some of the multi-layers of these other systems. It's going to help you to see when and who came in and provide that evidence as well. So cons here: battery dependency. There is some level of hacking risk and compatibility issues. And when it comes to smart locks, they do ensure secure access control to your home that you can control when and how. They do eliminate the need for physical keys. That's really nice. And you do get that log entry feature where you can see who comes into your home at what time. Putting some of these different layers of security together, you can see that information. But there is the risk of battery failure with these types of locks that could go down. And then there's the hacking potential that somebody could hack it, and compatibility issues. So as far as alternatives to this, there is just using mechanical locks, right? Or battery-powered smart locks with a manual override is another option that you can do for off-grid. Let's talk about some of the top options for this one, top brands. August is really great. Really like this one in terms of battery. It's got a good battery life. There is some vulnerabilities to hacking. That's why we give it a 3 out of 5, but it's compatible with a lot of other systems. So 4 out of 5, I really like August as an option. So that's a top one for you to consider. Schlage, I think is how you pronounce it, as another one. The battery it's got a reliable battery. So again, good on that level. A moderate level of security. And then it does have broad compatibility, similar to the other option with August, so could be worth considering. And then finally, let's look at the last option here, which is Quickset. And when it comes to Quickset, they also have a good battery life, lower in terms of hacking, like similar issues basically for hacking to the other ones, and it's less compatible with other systems. This would be third tier on my list. I wouldn't go with this one, but might be worth a look for you. All right, so let's talk about the James Bond option of the list. I told you we would talk about one on the list that can be kind of amazing and interesting for making you feel like you are James Bond in your own home, and that is the panic button. So when it comes to home security, a panic button can be really helpful because you get a quick emergency alert to the authorities. It can be discreet and can trigger alarms pretty quickly. And so if you know where it is and it's in an accessible location, can be very helpful, right? But you can also get false alarms if it's bumped or tapped. It can have some limited range. In other words, if you're not don't have access to it easily, there's that can be limiting. But again, you're going to want to layer these different gadgets in terms of creating overall security systems. So it is dependent on a security system though. So a panic button is going to have limited benefit to you. So benefit though, overall, it does enable a quick emergency response time. It is discreet and it can trigger the security alerts where something else may have failed, but you can actually begin to trigger that alert yourself. So helpful. But you do get those false triggers at times. The range limitations is worth considering, and it is dependent on a security alarm system. So off-grid alternatives is a manual alarm system or an air horn or a personal emergency alarm if you want to go off-grid fully. I think having layered options, both in terms of on-grid, but then also off and on-grid where you are electrical dependent, but also independent, is the best of both worlds and worth it. Let's look at some top options or brands here. ADT comes in as tops. ADT truly is just a long-term good option over the years. They don't get a lot of false alarms. The range is not great, but okay. And then finally, dependency. It is dependable when it is integrated with the other systems. Okay, let's talk about Simple Safe. Simple Safe does get some false alarms, but they're few, and so that's why we get a 4 out of 5. The range has some good range, and then dependency, it's reliable, but it does need another system, as do all of these. Finally, Life Shield. Similarly, doesn't get a lot of false triggers, does have a great range, and dependency, it works well with integrated systems, so can be worth a look for you. Okay, so when it comes to home security, I think the biggest takeaway from this video, and for you to think about to become James Bond in your own home, right, is to think about layered security. So any one of these alone may not be enough for you to have comprehensive home security. They're also all on-grid options, so whether you're setting up your own closed circuit and battery powered off-grid, that is one option, or just having low-tech solutions as an alternative, I think all of that is worth you looking into. Now, if you have not thought about any of this before, if you haven't thought prepping at all, I want to recommend you hit up the link in the description below. We have a free resource on our website. Click the link, it'll take you directly to it to begin to assess your preparedness. Having looked at this, having begun to thought through home defense, if you have not thought through prepping at all, or if you're a new to the prepping topic, getting that free resource will help you to get a grid for where you're at in that process. It takes about 15 minutes, worth the free download, and it's completely free to you. Hey, leave us a comment in the description below. What are some gadgets that you use or brands that you recommend along these topics? We want to hear from you. Leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. All of that tells us we're onto something with this content creation and you want more of it. So until next time, we'll see you on the next video.